Welcome to this LEX 18 Digital Conversation. I'm Dia Davidson. School is almost out for the year, and you're probably starting to look at possible educational options that are fun, not far from home, and won't break the bank for your kids. The Salato Wildlife Education Center is back open for another season and features exhibits of the state's fish and native wildlife. Here to talk more about the center, as well as some new additions, conservation educator Jeff Roberts. Jeff, it's good to see you.
Thanks for having us.
Well, who's your little friend?
Yeah, I'm joined by somebody today.
Yes.
Yeah, this is just one example of some native wildlife that you can see if you come to the Salato Wildlife Education Center. What I have here is a little eastern screech owl.
Oh, wow. Does it screech?
Actually, I'm glad you asked that.
Okay.
Screech owl is not a great name. Some birds have good names. Red-tailed hawk, accurate, good
Right,
name.
right.
Eastern screech owl, not so great because they actually don't screech. They do make a noise, but it sounds more like it's a wavering whistle noise, kind of like a horse whinny.
Oh, wow.
Unfortunately, I can't get her to do it on command.
Oh, wow. And
But,
she's looking right at me. Hi.
yeah,
How you doing?
she's checking out the
things
studio.
out.
Yeah.
So now you said that this is not an animal that you would necessarily come up and touch if we were out at Salato.
No, we do have some animals and some things that you can touch.
Okay.
The birds wouldn't be one of those things, but you can get a much closer look than you'd be able to get in the wild.
Wow.
That's for sure.
Now, where would we find this little owl?
Well, the neat thing about the Wildlife Center is that we focus on native wildlife, and it's sometimes challenging to find a place that solely focuses on native wildlife.
Right.
And so these are many animals that you could find in your very own backyard or your closest patch of woods, and that's absolutely the case with eastern screech owls. If you've got a neighborhood with some mature trees, big trees, or you live near a forest or on the edge of a forest, absolutely you could see and hear eastern screech owls. I live in downtown Frankfort,
Right.
a lot of mature trees, a lot of eastern screech owls.
Even in downtown area?
Even in downtown Frankfort.
So they're not really super afraid of humans, are they?
They would keep their distance, but
Right.
everything they need to eat, so full-grown owl, even though she's small, eats a lot of big bugs and little rodents.
Oh, wow.
So you can find plenty of big bugs and rodents in
big
most
cities,
yeah,
right?
in most urban areas.
Right.
Yeah, absolutely.
Oh, wow. And so you said some of the other things that we can see out at Salato, we brought out here
Yeah,
that are tax
we've got
right?
some obviously not so lively examples that I brought with me today,
Right.
but inside the
so
building we've got smaller exhibits. Snakes, frogs, turtles, fish. Some of those things you can touch.
Oh, really?
Snakes and turtles, if you'd like to touch those, they absolutely have the opportunity for that.
Okay.
Outside, behind the building, is where we have the larger enclosures with larger animals. We've got a bald eagle, a black bear, bobcats, elk, bison, deer, turkey, and quail.
Wait a minute. You have all of these alive?
Have your attention now?
Okay,
Yes,
you've got my attention.
all live. All live.
But in caging.
In realistic habitats.
Oh, in realistic.
enclosures.
Okay,
yes.
in enclosures where people can, I guess, come up kind of close to
Yes.
them, but not
Exactly.
in a dangerous
Exactly.
kind of
Yeah,
way.
we don't touch the black bear. We don't
I
get in
was
with the
gonna say,
bobcats,
right.
but you can get a great look at them in those exhibits.
Jeff, how long you been out there?
Been there 5 years.
Wow.
Yeah.
What is the best thing out there you think for you?
Well, I'm a bird nerd,
Right.
absolutely. So I've always loved birds. They're my favorite animals, so I'm a little biased, but
Right.
most people's favorites tend to be the black bear or the bobcats.
Oh, wow.
But we have something, as we like to put it, we have something fun for everyone. It really doesn't matter what type of wildlife that you're into.
Right.
We obviously have pretty good diversity there. So chances are there's something for you and your family.
And your family. So is this a self-guided tour, or can you request
for
a-
school groups or summer camps or homeschool groups,
Right.
we can actually, or they can actually set up programs, more formal sit-down 40-minute presentations on wildlife.
Okay.
Otherwise, it's self-guided, but even when it's self-guided, there's plenty to see and do.
And plenty of folks out there if you have questions to ask about it
Exactly.
too. You talked about bobcat. So
Yep,
here's
we have a,
wow.
again, not a lively example, but we do
No.
have an example of a bobcat,
Wow.
which are much more common than people realize in Kentucky. Bobcats are very shy, they are very skittish, they don't want to be around people,
Right.
and they're mostly nocturnal. So that's pretty good recipe for not being seen very often, but they are much more plentiful than people realize.
But now, say here in Lexington, a lot of development has occurred, and we're kind of moving into their space and pushing them out. So we're going to see a lot more of these, especially like raccoons and groundhogs, right?
As we expand, as you said, we're moving into their home range, and so it's important to know how to coexist with wildlife. But I think that in some ways that allows us the opportunity to see more wildlife.
Right.
If you want to kind of look at the silver lining of urban sprawl, it would
Right.
be, well, you're probably going to have more chances to see wildlife that maybe you're not so used to seeing.
Or like my house, a groundhog has taken up residence and likes to come and sun out on the deck, you know?
Yeah,
They like to do that.
They
kind of
do
stuff,
that.
don't
They do that. They enjoy gardens.
Yes,
for sure.
they sure
And
do.
we do have a live groundhog at Salato as well.
Do you really?
We do.
But now, do you get it to tell on Groundhog's Day?
We do. Usually,
you
we
really?
do. And she is perfect in her predictions. And she this year even picked the Eagles to win the Super Bowl.
You're kidding me.
She is.
Does she have a name?
Actually, another good question. So because all of our animals are wild animals, it's all wildlife, and it's not pets, and sometimes children and even really adults have a hard time differentiating between a captive wild animal and a pet. And so for that reason, to keep them as wild as we can, we don't give them public names.
Give them little names. Okay, sounds good. Okay, tell me about this little raccoon thing, or not raccoon, this little skunk.
Yeah, everybody knows what that is, striped skunk. We actually, at Salato, have a live skunk. She's brand new. She's still early in her training, but we hope to have her on exhibit for our visitors this year.
Does she spray?
She has been descented. That was one of the first steps.
That you had to do.
Let's take care of that.
What do you do if you encounter a skunk, or if you get sprayed? Is it true you put tomato
Well, there's
sauce
a lot of myths, and I'm not, to be honest with you, I'm not sure which ones really work.
right?
Fortunately, I've never been sprayed.
Oh, good.
But a lot of people think that skunks spend their day looking for something or someone to spray.
Right.
They kind of get a bad rap for that, but actually skunks don't do that. They really don't want to spray, and they won't spray unless they feel like their life really is in jeopardy.
Right.
And in fact, so if you come upon a skunk, the best thing to do is just stay calm and just back away. And if, like most wildlife, if you'll give it some space and leave it alone, you're probably going to be okay. Now, dogs, we can train dogs to do so many amazing things, but I've never seen a dog that can leave a skunk alone. So dogs get sprayed all the time.
So to back away, I guess, instead of running away, to back away.
It would probably be best. You'd probably keep the skunk more calm if you just back away. But even if you ran away, it's not going to chase you.
Okay. How about the groundhog? I mean, as far as contact, will they run away from us?
Probably.
Okay.
They scamper away pretty quick when people are around. Ours is used to people, so she's a little different. And she knows that we are a source of food, so that's why she can't be a wild groundhog anymore.
Right.
But in the wild, usually groundhogs are they're gonna scamper away. Go back to their den.
Exactly. And how about the raccoon?
Raccoons are, you're going to see them a lot. You can find them way out in the middle of nowhere where there's no people, or in your neighborhood, in the dumpster at the mall.
Right.
You can find raccoons in a lot of different areas. And again, if you just usually. A big thing with a lot of wildlife, raccoons especially, and black bears in certain parts of the state, is to take care of your trash and your food.
Right.
And if you've got raccoons or any other wildlife, possums or black bear, if you live in a certain part of the state, getting into your trash and into your food, well, you do what you can, again, to coexist with wildlife safely. So try not to leave trash out, try not to leave food out, try not to leave pet food out. A lot of times that'll solve your issues.
Okay. And what about if you come across one that's, say, rabid? What do you do?
Well, in that case, you would definitely want, if you encounter any wildlife that you feel like is acting unusual, it's behaving in a way that you feel like is something not quite right. Definitely keep your distance. Don't approach that animal, and you can call your local animal control, or you can call our agency, our 1-800 number. We could put you in touch with somebody that could a professional that could
help
handle that
get
situation.
Rid of that. Okay.
Exactly.
And what's this last little fuzzy thing
this
here?
is a coyote, which again, coyotes, interestingly, are not technically native to Kentucky. They made their way over into Kentucky, and it's estimated in the 1960s and 70s they came from the Midwest.
Oh, really?
But now they're established here, as anyone can attest, that's probably seen a coyote. They're pretty plentiful now.
Oh, wow.
So we consider them to be, they have naturally expanded their range into Kentucky.
Do you ever have instances where people bring animals in and then all of a sudden they populate?
That can happen. We really discourage people from taking animals, especially those that are exotic, those that are not native to Kentucky, and releasing them. That's why if you're thinking about getting something as a pet, please consider it carefully and make sure that you or whoever's going to take care of the pet has the means and the resources to do that for the pet's life. Because you don't want to relocate wildlife. You could potentially spread disease. You could potentially, again, introduce an animal that's not supposed to live in a certain area.
And then I guess if it's domesticated, then it won't really survive.
Its chances aren't going to be great anyway. If you take an animal that's used to relying on people for food, again, that's the way that many of our animals at Salato are. That's why they're non-releasable. And you release them, their chances aren't going to be very good for surviving.
A lot of people like to get snakes, and you brought a snake too.
I did. We can change gears and look at a snake if we want to do that.
Let's talk a little bit about that. And our little friend has done 2 little poo-poos. Okay.
Yeah. Birds poop a lot. Anybody that drives a car
I was
and has
gonna
ever parked
say.
their car underneath a tree that had birds in it, you know what birds
Oh
do.
yeah, one bobbed my car yesterday,
Yeah.
and my daughter was like, "Mom, there's bird poo-poo." Okay.
And the reason they do that is birds that fly, like owls, need to
Right.
be lightweight at all times, and so
So they
to help
gotta eat and get rid of
efficient
it.
digestive systems help them to be lightweight.
No, I get that. I get that. But now let's talk a little bit about your snake
Yeah, we
and
can
what
take a
kind of
look.
snake that you have. And we thank you so much for having somebody that's able to hand off.
Sure. Left hand.
Okay. Oh. Okay.
Let's look at the Jess's there.
That's so cool.
Lower my hand while you're ready.
How do you learn how to do that kind of
Right.
thing? To hand them
Well,
off like
that's
that?
Katie is one of our interns at the Salato Center. So if you are interested in volunteering or interning, you can potentially
do that kind of
have
stuff.
hands-on training like that.
That's cool.
So we're going to change
Okay.
gears
Yeah.
and switch to a scaly friend here. So
Okay.
we brought up snakes.
Okay.
A lot of people don't realize in Kentucky we have 32 species of snake. That's a lot.
That's a lot.
Only 4 are venomous. So your chances of encountering a venomous snake in the wild are actually not that great. And just like every other instance we've talked about, if you will leave them alone and give them space and let them do their job, most importantly, snakes have a very important job to do. They are free pest control. Most snakes, when they're little and small, they eat bugs. As they get bigger, they eat rodents. I can't think of a better form of pest control than snakes.
But you know, that is just amazing. I mean, because some of the things that they can eat are pretty sizable compared to themselves. How are they able to get them in
Well,
there?
their jaws are very flexible, and their lower jaw actually can expand and kind of spread out a little bit.
Okay.
That's what allows them to eat.
To bring it in?
In this case, she eats mostly mice, medium-sized mice, and yeah, a lot of those mice are actually much bigger than her head.
Sure.
So in order to do that, yeah, she has to have flexible jaws.
And then I guess her digestive system breaks it down?
Exactly.
Oh,
yeah.
wow.
So they don't really chew; they just eat the whole thing.
Yeah.
So would the screech owl as well.
Right. But let's look at her underside.
Yeah.
Is
So
that-
this is a corn snake.
Okay, we call
And
it corn
corn
snake.
snakes are very beautiful, beautiful colored
The
snakes.
skin is beautiful.
Yeah, and their underside, if you look, has a really unique, actually some other snakes have this too, but kind of unique to corn snakes, has this kind of checkered pattern.
Yeah.
Very pretty snake. Now, corn snakes are not that common in the wild in Kentucky. They're only found in 2 areas. They're found in the Mammoth Cave area and the Red River Gorge area.
Why is that?
If you get outside, and I'm not sure the
Sure.
exact reasons for
Right.
such a split apart
Right.
2 populations.
Right.
But if you get outside of those areas, like where we are in Fayette County,
Right.
where I'm from, Franklin County, you're not going to see corn snakes. But they are closely related to black rat snakes, which are very common.
Okay.
And in fact, one nickname for corn snakes is the red rat snake. And as that name, it implies, again, rodents,
Rodents,
mostly eating rodents.
And they
mice
pretty
rats.
much look the same, I guess, the pattern
They would
except one's
be,
black.
yep, they would have a little bit of a pattern on their back, and they would be mostly black, a little bit of gray in there, sometimes a little bit of yellow in there.
How
But
big is she going to get?
this is probably about as big as she's going to get.
okay.
Corn snakes, on average, get to about 5 feet, maybe approaching 6 feet long.
Okay.
And so this is pretty good size for a corn snake.
Wow. And we keep referring to her as she.
Uh-huh.
And I asked you before we started, how do you
How do we tell?
Yeah.
And it's not easy. It's not like some animals where you just simply look and you can
Right,
tell.
right.
You would have to be a little more invasive in how you look at that
Okay.
on most reptiles.
Okay.
So would you like to touch her?
No, thank you.
No, thank you. Oh, okay. Well, those that are so inclined,
Yeah.
we talked about what you can touch. If you
Right.
come to Salato, there's a great chance that either an educator like myself or an intern like Katie
Right.
will have a snake out that you will have the opportunity, if you want to
Right.
touch.
Well, I mean, you'll hold her head that
I've
way, right?
got her. head,
Okay.
If you want to. There you
Oh
go.
my gosh.
Is this the first snake you've touched, or one of the first
One
snakes
of,
you've touched?
well, I touched one before. I think somebody from Salato came to us when we were doing the 12:30 show, and I was able to touch her. But she's so soft.
a lot of people, they're uneasy.
Yeah.
Maybe they're a little afraid of snakes.
Yeah.
The
They
first
get a
time they
bad rap.
touch one, they do too,
Yeah.
just like the skunk.
Right.
The first time they touch one, it feels much different than they expect. A lot of
Yeah.
people imagine that snakes are wet and slimy and feel gross.
Yeah.
Well,
It was
reptiles are
warm.
very dry animals.
Right.
People have it in their mind that it's going to feel like an amphibian would feel, which
Right.
those are animals that need to be wet and slimy to be healthy. But
Right.
snakes are very dry, and they do have a bad reputation. But again, what I would say to anyone who's a little uneasy with snakes or a little afraid, just give them their space,
Right.
let them do their job, and they have an important job to do. And if we didn't have our predators like the raptors, like the screech owl,
Right.
snakes, we would be overrun with bugs and rodents, and that is not a world that I would want to live in.
Sure. So it's a circle of life. Isn't
Exactly.
It? And
Important part of the ecosystem.
what age group do you think would be the best for parents to bring and for them to really kind of enjoy and participate and interact with?
I think we have something for every age, but if I were to think about at what age, maybe when I was little, would I have really gotten it, I would say probably around 4.
Okay.
4 and on. But you'd be surprised how many adults we have where you've taught them something they didn't know. They kind of have that aha moment.
Right.
For me, that's what's really rewarding about the job, is teaching people things that they didn't know. And again, focusing on native wildlife. These are a lot of animals that people, maybe they'd seen before, maybe they always wanted to learn more about, but they didn't have a resource for that. Well, that's exactly what we're there to do.
And your operational hours?
So we're open seasonally, and it's a long season. We open March 1st and we run through Thanksgiving.
Okay.
So it's quite a long season, and we are open Tuesday through Saturday. Tuesday through Friday, 9 to 5. Saturdays, 10 to 5. Okay. Closed Sundays, Mondays, and all state holidays.
Oh, that's outstanding. Thank you guys so much for bringing
You bet.
everything
We're glad to be
in.
here.
This is awesome. And thank you for watching this LEX 18 Digital Conversation. Be sure to watch more conversations on lex18.com. Until next time, I'm Dia Davidson.